Sam Zagar, and I'm here to talk about projectors within human design, but very specifically about whether we do or do not have energy and the ways that might look for us or show up for us. Now, if you are a projector and you have read that you are a non-energy type, you might feel some kind of way about that. You might agree with that sentence, you might disagree with that sentence, and I'm going to cover a variety of the reasons why you might feel one way or the other about the information you're encountering, because sometimes it feels very accurate and other times it feels incredibly wrong, and people will get into arguments, they'll get into debates about this. So I'm going to riff on a couple of different aspects of definition and how they may or may not show up as being energetic or non-energetic at all and needing a lot of rest or downtime. Now, I myself am a projector. I am a splenic projector. I have one channel, the channel of surrender. It goes from the spleen to the ego. The ego within human design is considered a motor. There are 9 centers in the body graph. 4 of them are motors, but we can only have 3 of them as projectors. The motors are the root, the solar plexus, and the ego. Those 3 motors, projectors can have those. They can have a combination of them. What projectors are not going to have is the 4th motor, which is the sacral motor. If the sacral motor is defined within the body graph, this person automatically becomes a generator type, either a generator or a manifesting generator, or we can call them sacral beings because of the definition of the sacral center. However, there are still 3 other types of motors that projectors can have, but even though we can have up to 3 motors, we are considered non-energy types. Now, do you feel like you have energy or not? Is when you have energy or not feel specific for you in any way? Are there ways in which you like to move your body that feel like you might be an energy person? Or are there ways in which you need to really rest or relax your body that feel very validating in that you are a non-energy person? I'm going to explore different places in the body graph that will acknowledge why you may or may not feel certain ways about whether or not you have energy. I'm going to start with things that could possibly be the most generalized or most universalized, and I'm going to get more and more and more specific as I move through examples. So at the top, the more generalized or statement for all projectors is that we are non-energy types. The reason for that is because we do not have defined sacral centers. What the sacral motor does is it generates energy, which is why it belongs to the generator types. It is a regenerative motor. Really, this is an energetic resource that can consistently deplete itself and fill itself, deplete itself and fill itself. The other motors do not have the ability to do that. The sacral motor is putting out a fertile energy. Now, we can look at the organ or body systems that each of these centers is connected to give us a little bit more concrete understanding of what this energy is, what it's for, what it can accomplish. Sacral energy is fertile, regenerative, creative energy. This truly is the energy that makes children. That's why the channel of mating is a generative channel. And on the other side of the channel of mating is the channel of preservation. Both of these are in the tribal defense cradle, but they are both generator channels. Fertility very much belongs to the generator type. So what kind of energy are we going to find in the root center, in the solar plexus center, or in the ego center? Now, I do not believe that it would be accurate or correct to refer to any type of projector as an energy projector. I know that we can loosely label that, but it can be very, very confusing for new people. It's not that it's wrong to say that, but it can definitely put people at a disadvantage. It would be more accurate to say a motorized projector versus an energy projector. I myself am a motorized projector, but I have historically referred to myself as an energy projector because I have a motor. Now, my motor is going to give me willpower energy. The ego motor provides will. Now, that motor is not directly connected to a throat, so I do not have manifesting potential. If I had manifesting potential, my energy from my motor would be cyclical in that I would be initiating and then resting, and then initiating and then resting. It would be cyclical. So how do I turn on my motor if it's not in response and it's not with initiation? The way to turn on my ego really is to invite my channel. So my motor as a projector will have to be in a projected channel. If I'm a projector, I can only have projected channels. There are generator channels, there are manifested channels, there are not reflector channels. That would be redundant because reflectors don't have channels. So a projector will have channels, projected channels, connecting a motor, if they have either the root, the solar plexus, or the ego, connecting it to another center. But in theory, as the projector, when you recognize me, invite me, you activate the ability to guide through this channel. And my guiding through my channel requires a level of energetic input or motorized input from my ego. Now, if you are a projector with root motor energy, this is very like get up. The root will have you get up and take action on things. Now, I almost want to use the word initiate. However, there are nuances in using the word initiate as descriptive for the root center's ability to get up, start something, make something happen. Adrenaline is the core fuel here. We'll have stress, we'll have cortisol. What is the fuel that can get you to run in another direction, right? Because the root motor is a pressure center, when we have a pressurized motor, what you can sense there is pressure has this trapped energy component. The root really wants to release that energy so that it can go get a lot of things done. There's this pressurized component. Now, if you are a projector with a defined root, that tells me that it is not likely able to express itself through the throat. Otherwise, you would be a manifester. So there is, again, this need to release the energy in there in some type of way that stays healthy for the body. It is common for projectors with root definition to be encouraged to have some type of exercise that they do. Now, this is going to be even stronger if it is a root to spleen channel. A root to solar plexus channel is going to be different because when we go from root to spleen, we go from motor to awareness center. But when we go from root to solar plexus, we go from motor and pressure center to motor and awareness center. There's a different chemistry that is happening on that side of the body graph. Now, the solar plexus as a motor is quite different from all of the other motors. The one thing that I think people don't expect about the solar plexus is that it's not creating and giving away energy the way that the other motors are. What's often overlooked about the solar plexus is how much energy it requires to operate. So of all of the centers in the body graph, the one that requires the most energy to function on its own is the solar plexus. You kind of need to look at it like the motorized component of the solar plexus is how the processing component operates. It has a job that it needs to do and it requires fuel to get that job done. And in a way, it's doing its own loop. We've got the wave mechanic We've got the highs, we've got the lows, we've got a lot of truth and confrontation. There is a lot of understanding that needs to happen here, a lot of processing. The solar plexus, while being a very, very powerful motor, is not looking to give away its power. It needs it for the functions that it has to do. Which means, in theory, when you're meeting these motorized projectors, a projector with an ego is going to feel different from a projector with a solar plexus, is going to feel different from a projector with a root center. When we say that the solar plexus requires a level of energy, I think it's very interesting to look at the fact that the root goes to the solar plexus, the sacral goes to the solar plexus, the ego goes to the solar plexus. And then we also have the throat for expressing the processing that has happened in the solar plexus. But look at how much energy is even going towards the solar plexus. So again, we're going from more generalized to very specific. And at first glance, we've got projector. Then we can acknowledge motorized projector. Now, what gets really interesting is when we add our next nuance to this. You can take a motorized projector, but you can give them an observer or passive body, and how that person physically presents. If you were to look at this person in their correct environment, whether they are stimulated into activity, left environment, or pacified into an observer role. So after we're looking at whether or not the projector is motorized, one of the next most helpful places we're going to look is at the independent design variable, which is my way of saying the design north node and south node are going to house color and tone, and those are going to identify the environment and whether or not you are left or right in that environment. Now, being left in your environment means that you hold a level of tension in the body, you are stimulated into a level of activity, you are observed in that activity. To be right in your environment is to be pacified, to become an observer, to relax, to watch. Now, if we acknowledge the difference between left or right in the environment, active or passive, observed or observer, we can tie that into our understanding about whether this person is motorized or not. So for myself, I am a motorized projector with my ego, and my independent design variable is left facing, and second color, and second tone. The second color makes me markets environment. The second tone means that I am left oriented. Tones 1 to 3 are left oriented. Tones 4, 5, and 6 are going to be right oriented. So I have the motorized component that makes it look like I do have some level of energy. And then we also have the fact that within the correct environment for me, I become stimulated into the right activity. So there are two ways in which, through the unaware observer or the uneducated according to human design observer, I may very much look like I have energy, but I am still a non-energy type because I do not have sacral energy. There is no regenerative energy. And I am still a non-energy type because I do not have motor to throat definition that allows me to manifest cyclically. Doesn't happen for me. Doesn't happen for you if you're a projector either.